A few days after Madame Bianca and Lord Zachary departed for Lahaz, the atmosphere at the Arno estate shifted. Head butler Vincent strolled into the seamstress shop with a rare bounce in his step. "Hello, everyone," he greeted cheerfully, delivering gold string and flax thread. The seamstresses were surprised by his upbeat mood. "Has something pleasant happened, sir?" one asked. Vincent simply smiled. "Perhaps it's the warm weather. I feel so alive!" But after he left, the women exchanged knowing looks. "Warm weather, huh? More like freedom from Madame Bianca's lavish spending," one muttered. "Still, he does care for her," Marie noted fondly. They all agreed. Bianca may be demanding, but she had changed. Once withdrawn and extravagant, now she seemed focused and even possibly expecting an heir. Marie looked down at her baby and the elegant threads in the chest Vincent brought. She recalled Bianca's parting words, a promise to showcase their lacework in Lahas and elevate them from mere seamstresses to Arno's master lace artisans. Marie and Nicola had been touched by Bianca's recognition and support. Since her departure, they had prayed for her safe return. Elsewhere, at sunset, Bianca's caravan encountered a sudden delay. "A landslide swept away part of the road," Robert reported to Zachary. "Only horses can pass. We'll have to move the carriages by hand." With a calm nod, Zachary chose to make camp for the night and take the detour the next day. Bianca stepped out of her carriage just in time to hear the decision. As she adjusted her clothes, Yvonne hesitated to accept Gaspard's helping hand, until Bianca teasingly called her over. "From now on, take a gentleman's hand without hesitation," Bianca advised. "But it's not like it's an honor to hold mine," Yvonne replied, flustered. Soon after, Sauveur tried to escort Bianca to a nearby creek, but she politely declined, choosing Gaspard instead. Sauveur protested playfully until Robert interrupted. "Her ladyship is needed. His lordship is looking for you," he said with quiet authority. As Bianca followed him through the busy camp, she noticed how chaotic things had become. Robert's concern for her comfort came through in his words, though it reminded her a little too much of Vincent's roundabout lectures. "You don't seem to know me," she said firmly. "If I'm uncomfortable, I won't stay silent about it." Just then, Zachary appeared. "Bianca," he said gently, offering his hand. She took it, blushing as her heart fluttered. "Just seeing him makes me so happy," she thought as they walked hand in hand. "It's like my heart won't stop racing." Zachary led Bianca down a narrow path beside a quiet stream, the sound of a nearby waterfall steady in the background. "This is the source of the Arno River," he explained. "The stream that flows past the castle begins here." Bianca followed his gaze, watching a flower drift by in the water. "It takes 2 days to reach here on the fastest horse," Zachary added, "but that flower will arrive at the castle in just half a day." Bianca's lips curved into a small smile. "So this is the place Sir Sauveur mentioned. It's lovely. I wouldn't have seen it if I'd stayed at the castle." Zachary hesitated. "You seem to have gotten close to him." "Not really," Bianca replied. "He was just returning a small favor." She glanced at Zachary, her voice lightly teasing. "No need to be jealous." "I'm not," Zachary said, though he looked away slightly. Bianca observed him quietly, then turned to walk back. He took her hand, by now, a gesture that felt natural between them. What once might have been a formality had become a reflection of their growing closeness. As they walked in silence, Bianca noticed the tension in Zachary's expression. She paused and asked, "What's on your mind?" "There are 2 things I want to talk about," he began. "First, were you and your brother close?" Bianca thought for a moment. "With Joachim? Yes, we were. He was my only sibling, and after our mother passed away, we relied on each other. He was clever, more like our father in that way. But I haven't heard from him in 9 years." Her voice softened. "I don't remember everything clearly, but one memory stands out. He always gave in to me, except when it came to chocolate cake." She smiled faintly. "He gave me his piece only once. I ate it so fast, afraid he'd change his mind." Her expression turned somber. "That was the day I learned I'd be marrying you." Zachary listened, quietly absorbing her words. "I didn't understand what marriage meant back then," she continued. "I just did as I was told, and never thought about returning to Blanchefort." Her hands tightened slightly at her sides. Zachary could sense her discomfort, but said nothing, giving her space. The sound of the waterfall filled the quiet between them. "Bianca?" he asked gently. "Are you all right?" She nodded, though her breath was unsteady. Maybe I just overdid it after sitting all day. In truth, she was overwhelmed by memories of the future she remembered, her family's downfall, the deaths of her father and brother, and the sorrow that would follow. The weight of it all pressed down, leaving her shaken. Zachary guided her back to the carriage and tucked a blanket around her. To be honest, he said, your father sent a letter. He's asked to see you. Bianca looked up, surprised. If you don't want to go, I'll decline on your behalf, Zachary added gently, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Bianca felt a wave of gratitude. She touched his cheek lightly. Thank you. Zachary froze at the contact, his face flushing as he leaned in slightly. Is he going to kiss me? Bianca wondered, heart racing. She closed her eyes, and the carriage door swung open. Madam, you're back, Yvonne said brightly, stepping inside. I heard we're camping here tonight. Startled, Zachary and Bianca both quickly pulled away. Yvonne blushed as she realized what she'd interrupted. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's fine, Bianca said, regaining her composure. Whatever you're thinking didn't happen. She turned to Zachary. Was camping the second thing you wanted to tell me? He stood and nodded. I didn't want you to have to sleep in the carriage, but this time, there's no other option. If you're upset, I understand. I'm not, Bianca replied. Where will you sleep? Here with me? Zachary hesitated, clearly caught off guard. If I did, what would the others think? Bianca tilted her head. We're married. There's nothing improper about sharing a space, and I didn't say it would be just the two of us. Yvonne and Gaspar can join us. It's a big carriage. That's a bit unusual. Yvonne mumbled, unsure where to look. I'll be sleeping outside, Zachary said firmly. You and Yvonne can rest here. We'll talk again later. With that, he turned and stepped out, leaving Bianca with lingering thoughts and an unfinished conversation. 10 days after leaving Arno, the caravan arrived in Lahaz, 4 days early. But despite the early arrival, the distance between Bianca and Zachary still held a few unspoken words. Sevron's capital, Lahos, stood as a monument to strength and endurance, having repelled Aragon and Castilla for over a century. Its emblem, a red rose with golden thorns, fluttered atop the towering white citadel, casting a proud silhouette against the mountains. Count Zachary de Arno led his cavalry at a steady pace toward the gates. As the citadel loomed near, his voice rang out clearly, Open the gates. I, Zachary de Arno, present a royal summons from His Majesty the King. At the command, the portcullis rose and murmurs swept through the watching crowd. The Black Wolf banner. Count Zachary. Huzzah for the Count of Blood and Iron. Cheers echoed as Zachary and his retinue passed, armor glinting in the sunlight. Inside her carriage, Bianca watched in quiet awe, cheeks tinged with color. The people's admiration for her husband, their defender in times of war, was overwhelming. Look, madame, Yvonne called, pointing as they neared yet another gate. Even within Lahaz, the journey to the king's castle was long and steep, the final ascent revealing Castle Lahaz's famed white towers. Inside the castle, Zachary turned to Bianca. His Majesty is in Princess Audalie's garden. It will be an informal meeting, nothing to fear. Though she tried to appear calm, Bianca's nervousness was clear. Zachary gently took her hand. I can go alone, he offered. She shook her head. No, let's go together. The garden was a wonder, lush with exotic plants gathered from across the continent. It was also the king's favorite retreat, a detail that reflected the trust he placed in Zachary. As they arrived, they found King Victor and Prince Gautier already waiting. Zachary bowed deeply. Your Majesty, Your Highness, it's an honor. Ah, Count Arno, the king greeted warmly. You look well. And this must be the Lady of the North? Bianca stepped forward. I am Bianca de Arno, Your Majesty. A pleasure at last, the king said. Zachary has kept you from Lahos, citing your health. But now, in my twilight years, he finally brings you to me. He smiled gently. You remind me of the late Countess Blanchefort. Prince Gautier offered a polite bow. I am Gautier de Sevron. Though your husband and I are close, it's a shame we've never met until now, Countess. He handed her a bouquet. These roses are from Princess Audalie's garden. I had to beg for them. Bianca blinked at his charm, and Gautier added with a smirk. Still, Zachary's gift surpasses mine. A rose that never withers. A rose that never withers? She echoed, puzzled. Before he could reply, the king interjected. You'll be staying in the North Tower. It has the best view in all of Lahaz. I hope you find rest there. Thank you, Your Majesty. Zachary said, and with a respectful bow, he guided Bianca away. As they walked the marble halls, Bianca remained a few steps behind, her mind racing. In my past life, Prince Gautier never took the throne. It passed to Prince Jacob. Her family, the Blancheforts, had backed Gautier. Would history repeat itself? Lost in thought, she failed to notice a figure ahead and bumped into him. A strong hand caught her. "Are you all right, my lady?" a bright voice asked. Startled, she looked up to see a young man with an easy smile. "I'm sorry I was rushing," he said. "You're quite lovely. May I ask your name?" Flustered, Bianca barely managed a reply when a familiar voice cut in. "Bianca," Zachary said calmly, stepping forward. Her cheeks flushed with embarrassment as she turned to him. "You walk too fast," she scolded, trying to recover. "I might have gotten lost in this unfamiliar castle." "I won't let you out of my sight again," Zachary replied, gently taking her hand. His eyes narrowed slightly as he addressed the man before them. "You must be Prince Jacob. My wife wasn't paying attention. My apologies." Bianca's gaze sharpened. "So this is the second prince, Prince Jacob, the one who would one day rule Sevron in my past life." "I'm Jacob de Sevron, Countess. Welcome to Lahos," the prince said with a courteous bow. "Did you know your mother is distantly related to my family? That makes us kin in a way." Bianca offered a polite nod. "I knew of the connection, but the House of Blanchefort never placed much value on it. While I appreciate your interest, Your Highness, I don't regard myself as anyone significant simply because of a distant tie to the royal family." Her calm but blunt response drew a moment of stunned silence from both men. "Bianca," Zachary murmured softly. She realized too late how bold she had sounded. Why did I say that? Just because he was being overly familiar? Her hand fluttered to her lips in embarrassment, but Prince Jacob merely smiled. "Have I offended you, Countess? If so, please forgive me. I may have overstepped. I only wished to extend a friendly hand." "No, the fault is mine," Bianca replied, tense. "You're very forthright," he remarked. "I admire that. If anything troubles you during your stay, do come to me." Though his words were smooth, Bianca caught the way his gaze lingered on her, far too boldly for her comfort. How vile, she thought. He looks at me like that even though I'm married. Feigning wariness, she leaned slightly against Zachary. "I'm so tired, dear. Let's go to our room." Zachary blinked at her sudden act, his cheeks coloring. "Bianca, this isn't the place," he murmured, though he gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Jacob's smile twitched, faltering just for a second as he watched the exchange. There was a flicker of something else, jealousy perhaps, before it vanished. "My apologies, Your Highness," Zachary said coolly. "The journey has worn my wife down. We'll excuse ourselves." "Of course," Jacob replied with a pleasant nod. "Please rest well." As they walked away, Zachary glanced at her, still flushed. "So you don't mind calling me dear when it suits you?" "Thank you for playing along," Bianca said softly. "You've become rather tactful." His tone shifted. "Bianca, whatever happens, never go to Prince Jacob for help, even if I'm not around, especially then, and Husky's not to be trusted." "You don't have to worry," she said. "I'm Count Blanchefort's daughter and your wife. I even married you to support Prince Gautier." She paused, recalling that, at one point, she'd considered offering some small favor to Jacob. But after today, that thought was gone. Zachary nodded, but remained wary. He's cunning. You never see his real intentions until it's too late. Bianca cast a glance back toward Jacob and caught the faintest smirk on his lips. A cunning man, she thought grimly. In my past life, that cunning turned him into a traitor. Her mind wandered, back to the abbey where two nuns had gossiped. "Did you hear about the woman who committed adultery? They say her husband was always away." "She should have been chaste and strong," the other replied coldly. "Yes, the only thing awaiting adulterers is divine punishment." Bianca had sat nearby, forced to pretend she hadn't heard. But she had. And she'd known they weren't just talking about Jacob's wife from Aragon. They were talking about her too. Jacob's princess had strayed in loneliness, much like Bianca had once turned to Fernand. But where others saw tragedy, Jacob saw opportunity. The scandal gave him cause to seize control of Aragon. His wife's infidelity became a trap, not just a disgrace. Bianca remembered the pain of Fernand's betrayal, lying beside him under a tree, thinking they shared something real, only for him to release her hand and say, "Let's call it quits. There's no need for me to be involved with you anymore." That cold, final dismissal had shattered her. And when Zachary died, it all unraveled. Arno collapsed under Viscount Hughes, and she bore the brunt of the shame while the men walked free. Bianca? Zachary's voice snapped her out of her thoughts. She blinked, realizing he'd been calling her. Sorry. I just remembered something unpleasant, she said, stepping away from him. What were you thinking about? He asked gently. She hesitated, then chose levity. How lucky we were to leave behind your shabby clothes before coming here. Prince Jacob may dress well, but you're taller and far more handsome. Zachary stared, stunned. You've never said that before. It bothers me to think people might look down on you, she added quietly. He chuckled. You bring up my size constantly, but calling me handsome? That's new. Bianca smirked. I assume all your past lovers were either shy or blind. Zachary coughed, flustered. You haven't mentioned those women in ages. Why bring up mistresses that never existed? I'm not a naive girl anymore, she said playfully. A writing instructor must have had experience, he sighed. Honestly, I might have been less frustrated if I had one. They laughed, the tension from the earlier encounter fading, though neither realized how Prince Jacob's interest would soon cast a long shadow over House Arno. Back at their quarters, Yvonne greeted them warmly. Welcome, my lord and lady, she chirped, opening the door. Bianca's eyes widened. Prince Gautier mentioned the view, but he didn't say the room was this beautiful. Everything is of the finest quality, madame, Yvonne replied, helping with her cape. A familiar chest near the corner caught Bianca's eye. That's from Arno, she murmured. This place feels like a dream, but that chest brought me back. Yvonne gestured toward a doorway. This is the shared bedroom, madame. Bianca froze. We're staying in the same room? Yvonne smiled innocently. The Lord didn't say otherwise. Bianca flushed. We've grown closer, but sharing a room. Her heart raced. It was just a room, yet it felt like a new chapter was about to begin. That night, Bianca sat at the edge of her bed, absent-mindedly twisting a lock of hair. I may have been distracted before, but I need to act quickly now, she thought, cheeks warming. Consummating this marriage is essential if I want Zachary's full support. Sharing a room with him felt like a leap, so sudden. She'd imagined their first night together happening elsewhere, maybe at Arno Castle, not like this. Not so soon. The door creaked open and Zachary stepped in, freshly bathed, his damp hair glinting in the light. Bianca's breath caught. He looks different, almost gentle. Zachary approached, hesitated, and then sat beside her. She stiffened, heart pounding, overwhelmed by his nearness. Just as she thought he might lean closer. Bianca? She blinked, snapping out of her thoughts. Zachary was still by the door, his brow creased with concern. I've been looking for you. What are you doing here? Her cheeks flushed. Was I just daydreaming all that? It's nothing, she replied quickly, steadying her voice. He walked over, studying her flushed face. Are you feeling all right? You look a little warm. Bianca tried to wave him off. No, I'm just flustered, she thought. Please don't look at me too closely right now. My lord, she murmured, shifting gears. Do you prefer the right or left side of the bed? I suppose. We should decide if we're sharing it tonight. She immediately regretted how forward she sounded. Zachary paused before answering. I'll be sleeping in the adjoining room tonight, he said gently, though his eyes lingered on her. Oh, of course, she said with a stiff laugh, masking her disappointment. I must have gotten ahead of myself. I'm just tired. He sat beside her, a light smile on his lips. You always take the left side. I guess that makes the right side mine, for whenever that day comes. Bianca glanced at him, flustered but amused. I don't know if you're becoming more charming or just sneakier. Maybe I've changed for the better, Zachary said softly, a rare warmth in his tone. Then his voice turned serious. We still haven't talked about meeting your father, Count Blanchefort. What do you want to do? Her nerves settled at the reminder. He's including me, asking me directly. Let's talk tomorrow, she replied. We both need rest tonight. Zachary nodded and stood. Then tomorrow it is. Sleep well, Bianca. As he left, Bianca let out a long breath. The swirl of emotion remained, but her determination had sharpened. Step by step. His earlier question echoed in her mind. That's right. I collapsed from hyperventilating that day. That's why we never decided what to do. Zachary, sensing her hesitation, had offered, If you don't want to see him, I can meet Count Blanchefort alone. Bianca clasped her hands. After a moment, she answered firmly, "It's likely I'll run into him anyway while we're in Lajas. I'd rather face it head on. Let's schedule it soon. I'll be fine." Later that evening, Yvonne gently brushed Bianca's hair while she sat at her dressing table, lost in thought. "I wonder when I'll see Father and Joachim again," Bianca murmured. "When we do, I want his lordship to wear something new, something that shows how far Arno has come. Not that they judge him by appearances, but still." Her voice faded as she focused on a delicate lace trim in her hands. "I want them to see I'm thriving, that I've built a better life than the one I left behind with the dowry they gave me." Yvonne remained quiet, attentive. "I wonder who the best tailor in Lajas is," Bianca added. "Zachary deserves only the finest." "Don't worry, madame," Yvonne said calmly. "I'll go first thing tomorrow and find the most renowned tailor in town." Bianca smiled softly. "I'll leave it to you. Thank you, Yvonne." Once alone, Bianca lay on the bed, thoughts drifting to her family. Though she had grown over the years, a part of her still longed for home like the girl she once was. The next morning, a rider from Arno arrived at the Blanchefort estate with Zachary's letter. In his study, Count Blanchefort sipped tea as Joachim burst in, beaming. "Father, we received a reply from Arno." He snatched the letter eagerly. "They arrived in Lajas yesterday. That's why the message was delayed." Count Blanchefort glanced up briefly. "If they'd sent it before leaving, we'd have had it already." "But we'll see Bianca in 2 days," Joachim said, unable to contain his excitement. Just then, a knock interrupted them. "Beg your pardon, my lord and young master Joachim," the butler said, stepping in. "You have a visitor in the sitting room." "A visitor? This early?" the count asked, suddenly alert. "It's His Highness, Prince Jacob," the butler replied.